welcome back to Lily's Pantry. So in my last video I told you I was gearing up to do some canning, and so I got all the meat already prepped except for there was one package left. I had 4 packages and each package had 4 chicken breasts in there and weighed near 5 pounds. So I figure I've got more than enough here because I used 3 packages. So 12 chicken breasts. Any excess after I pack my jars, I'll put in freezer bags and we'll use those for stir fry. So if it looks like I'm going to have too much, then I'm definitely going to do stir fry. And I'll measure this out before I brown it or par cook it. And then all the bones from this and 2 packages of backs out of the freezer are in this 7-quart crock pot. I'm going to fill this with water, put it on and let it rip for the next 8 hours, 10 hours, and we're gonna have this delicious bone broth to go in here. I'm not adding any sodium or anything. I don't care to have any other flavors in here except for chicken. So let's get to busy and we'll get this crock. This is gonna go in the refrigerator until tomorrow. So I've gotta get these in freezer paper. All right, guys. It's gonna be fun. Come on. Well, guys, welcome back. It's obviously the next day, and I've got my skillet heating up with a little bit of avocado oil, and I'm gonna start putting these chunks of chicken down in there. And they don't, remember, we're not gonna fully cook them. We're gonna par cook them. So we're just gonna get a little brown on them. 1 full pan at a time. And I'm going to leave my heat right around 300. And the reason we're doing it in batches is because if I don't need to use all this chicken, I don't want it par cooked. Does that make sense? So go ahead. A little bit more. And at this point, I'm going to set that aside. You could season this, but I'm not going to because I don't want to pigeonhole myself after I can it to what I can do with it, if that makes sense to you. So we're going to turn our canner on to get it heating up. And I've got all the other stuff that I need here. My jars are in the dishwasher. They've just been sanitized. And we're just going to wait for this to brown. So I'll be right back. So I've got this chicken just par cooked. The outsides are, you know, kind of turned opaque, and it's ready to go. I don't worry about the inside because remember, we can raw pack this. The only difference is, and I think you'll see this with my end result, ouch, that jar is hot, you're hot packing basically, is that the chicken doesn't stick together so badly, and it also doesn't stick to the jar as much. You're probably not gonna get quite as much in the jar, so we're gonna get our little pusher down here. We don't want to break up the meat too much while we do this, but we can get a little bit more in here. Hot packing is much faster. Obviously, there's more work involved. And then this is the stock that I had from last night. All the bones from those chicken breasts and a couple backs out of the freezer. So we're just going to ladle in some of that chicken broth. And so we're never going to throw that broth out when we drain the chicken. We're going to save it. These are great for stir fries. And look how pretty. Hot. Hot, 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 hot. So now that we've got our jar filled, let's grab a napkin. I've got white vinegar here, and when I'm done with it, it's going in the canner to keep my jars nice and clear. So I wipe that rim down, make sure you haven't got any air pockets. It looks good. You want a 1/2 inch of head space. I might take out one of those pieces. It looks like a couple of pieces need to come out. Looks a little full. I'd rather not compromise the jar seal. Have a little less in that jar. There we go. So a little vinegar on there. And this is your last chance to inspect your the rim of your jar. And then I've got in hot water right here, I have both Tadler lids and regular lids. So where's my magnetic wand here? It's not going to help me with the Tadlers, but we'll do 1 Tadler and 1 regular for you. Set that right on, and that's a 2-piece lid. It's got a gasket and the BPA-free lid. And go ahead and Tattler, you do finger tight and then back off just a tad, not very much at all. And then we're going to put this in the canning jar where it's going to wait for the rest. Oh, beautiful. And you want your canner to stay below boiling. Boiling is at 220 degrees. You want it to stay about 180 while you're loading your jars, if that helps you guys out. And for my altitude, I'm going to need a 15-pound weight on my jar. So let's get this one filled. And we'll have beautiful chunked chicken for our pantry. And I use this in chicken salads. I use this for chicken soup. Easy, quick and easy chicken soup is about the best thing on the planet. And it makes enough for, you know, 2 people. You really only need a ladle. And if I have more stock left, I will save that and maybe make up another batch of stock. A little bit more. It's really hot. Okay. There we go. Oh, perfect. Debubble. Make sure there's no big air pockets in there. And remember, this has no sodium added. There is sodium in the chicken, and so I don't add any sodium. Get your lid ready, a little vinegar. Inspect that rim again. Put your lid down. And there's something kind of therapeutic about canning. And these regular lids are, I try to use what's hanging around in my pantry. These are finger tight. I used a combination because that's what I had in the basket. That means that's what's been opened recently. So my jar, or my dishwasher generally doesn't get filled with dishes, it gets filled with jars. So this is gonna sit in the canner. And then I'm gonna bring you back for the rest of this and we'll get these all jarred up. So I'm putting my last jar in and the canner is full. I guesstimated on how much I would need out of that package of raw meat, and I came within a half a cup. So it's pretty easy to judge once you get down to the last couple of jars. So now I'm going to inspect my lid. You always want to inspect the lid of your canner. Make sure that your gasket is in good shape and that you'll oil it once in a while, because if it dries out and cracks, it's not going to give you a seal and you won't can anything. And up here is the locking mechanism. That should come up and down. And then you want to look through your steam vent hole right here. And from the other side, it's right there. You want to be able to see daylight through there. So the way my canner is set up, I always put the locking mechanism in the back. Lock her down. It should be relatively easy to lock down. And then you're going to go ahead and bring this up to temperature. So I'm putting it on high. And then it's going to come up to boil in here. The steam vent is going to start spewing steam, and when it's a steady stream of steam, time that for 10 minutes. Your lock will have popped up, and that means it's created pressure within the canner. And at that point, once it's vented for 10 minutes, then I will put on our 15-pound weight. Then you've got to wait till that weight starts dancing, and it's hissing and dancing along. And every canner is different, so please read the instructions on your canner and check the bulk canning book for how much weight you need for your altitude in your area. I'm at 4,500 feet above sea level, so I need 15-pound weight, and this will then can. After that starts dancing, I'll start the timer over, and it will can for 75 minutes for pints. If these were quarts, it would be 90 minutes. All right, guys, so maybe I'll bring you back for some steam. Maybe I'll bring you back for the end result. Okay, so we have a steady stream of steam coming up here, and this is going to go for 10 full minutes, and this is super important that you do this. You can't skip this step. You can skip this step when you're using a pressure cooker. Pressure cookers and pressure canners are a different vehicle for your food, so always follow the safety guidelines. But we're excited. We're going to have some more chicken in the pantry, and that lock in the back is up, so set your kitchen timer, which I've already done, for 10 minutes. And then your weight goes on. All right, guys, and I'll bring you back when it's all done after the 75 minutes of cooking and canning. All right. So our canner had come down off the pressure. That lock button in the back had released itself, and then it's safe to take your weight off and open your lid. And you don't want to leave these sit in the canner too long because you've got Tattler lids. I tightened down the 2 Taddlers as soon as I brought them out of the canner, and I apologize, I thought the camera was on. And so we've got our end result of 8 pints of cube chicken that got par cooked, and then it's been cooking in its own chicken stock basically, and it's a bone broth. That bone broth was in the crock pot for 14 hours, and then it just got put on warm for another 3 hours after I strained it. So it's going to be delicious, you guys. So I hope that this inspires you to, step outside the box. If you haven't canned before, this is an easy method. You can find this method in your ball canning book, where we should all be researching. And let me bring you in for a close-up. As always, I can't wait to see you next time. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you hit subscribe so you can come back and watch my next video, and go check out my past videos. All right, guys. God bless everyone.
And look how pretty they are. Those jars are beautiful. And I'll kind of zoom in a little bit, and you can see they're still bubbling away. That's what we love about canning. So these jars will sit here all night long, and then tomorrow morning I'll take the rings off. Or, probably before I go to bed, I'll go ahead and double check the Tattler lids, make sure they're sealed down, because if they don't seal for whatever reason, I'll put that in the refrigerator and use that meat up right away. You can always tell on the pop-ups, because if it's popping back and forth, it's not sealed. But the Tattlers, sometimes it's hard to see until you just take the ring off and see if it's sealed on there. But I'll take those rings off in the morning and scrub the jars down really good, let everything dry very well, and put my rings back on. And I live in a dry climate, so if you're in a humid climate, you can go ahead and leave your rings off. But I just feel like I store my rings better this way, and I don't get these piles and piles of rings accumulating. Plus, if you have a jar that fails and there isn't a ring on there, you got a big stinky mess. Just saying. So I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe and or canning video. Oh, I don't know, we might have a critter update. You never know. All right, guys.